I really think that if they aren't great at haircuts, but they're really good at lightening and they want to do both, then I feel like they can't charge the rate that they want to for their color services because of the haircut aspect. So I know that everyone's like, you're charging for your time. People are paying for your time. Yes, I get that. But people are also paying for a service and people are also paying for a result. And if you are unable to create that result in a certain area, then it's hard to charge for that area that you can't create the result in. Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I'm a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you love. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Elevate podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be chatting all things hourly pricing. I'm going to share my personal opinion about how I feel about hourly pricing. And I'm going to say it's not all positive. So on today's episode, we also have a special guest. We have Sheli Dodaro Hernandez. And Sheli has also been doing hourly pricing inside of her salon. And we are both going to share our experience since switching to hourly pricing, which has been about, I would say, 3 years. We've been doing hourly pricing for 3 years.
Cool. 3 years.
Sheli, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself to my guests for like the 10th time? Because we've done 10 podcasts together.
We have. Is that the record? Do I hold the podcast guest record with you?
You do. You hold the record for the podcast guest award.
All right.
The most.
Woohoo. Mm-hmm. Very popular now. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheli Dodaro Hernandez, and I am the owner of Clean Beauty Boutique, which is a commission-based salon in the south suburbs of Chicago. And I have an education company called Clean Beauty Pro, and you can find us on Instagram.
So I would like to talk about pros and cons of hourly pricing and what we love about it and where we see holes and gaps. I just want to preface that there is no perfect pricing structure for any salon. I think it's just looking at the pros and cons and looking at what works best for your business and what aligns with your purpose, vision, and mission. So, Sheli, let's start with the conversation of why you chose hourly pricing for your salon. If you've been feeling overwhelmed and overworked from owning your salon, you're not alone. If you're like many salon owners, you want to build a salon that makes you feel fulfilled and passionate while bringing freedom and flexibility to your life. You're exhausted from taking on all your business tasks alone, but it doesn't have to be this way. It's time for change. The Elevated Salon Owner Collective will help you do just that. You'll automate your salon, implement solid business systems, transform your salon culture, take charge of your online presence, and regain freedom. Doors officially open, and I'd love for you to experience freedom and fulfillment in your business. To learn more, visit opulentbeautypro.com/elevate or click the link in the show notes.
Well, I chose hourly pricing for my salon because I just really feel like it simplified the process of our menu. So if a client was coming into the salon from a traditional menu that I worked with before, it was a la carte. So you had to say, okay, so you're going to get a touch up. We're going to mix up an extra bowl. That's going to be an extra amount of money. I'm going to do a pull through on you. That's going to be an extra $35. Then you're not going to get a haircut. So we're going to get a blowout. And, it was really created a lot of confusion for me as a stylist, a new stylist, not having a guide on like how to add product, how much product was I using? How do I know when to add more? It wasn't really laid out for me very well. So when I opened up my own salon, I modeled, right? I modeled on what I knew before. And I noticed that my stylists were forgetting to do the add-on charges. So they were doing the pull-throughs or the extra bowls, and they weren't charging the client appropriately for the service. And I was losing money.
Yeah, that is the same situation that I encountered. I think money too is a really hard conversation for newer stylists to have. So if something's going to be extra, I think there's a lot of fear around telling the client that it's going to be extra. So we were experiencing the same thing. Either, well, actually three of the things is one, people were just forgetting to charge because they were frazzled or they were already thinking about their next client during checkout and would just forget to add things on. Two, they were just not adding the things because they were afraid to raise the ticket price and to charge the client more. Or three, they weren't having the conversation of increasing the price. And then when they went to go check the client out, then the client would be like, I don't understand why it was this much. I thought it was going to be much less. So I think hourly pricing definitely gets rid of any confusion. It makes it so simple. It allows our team to really just take control of the situation, do what they need to do to create the result that they want. And it really does simplify the process, and the client knows exactly what they're paying for when they walk out the door. So, what would you say is your biggest pain point with hourly pricing?
Well, I feel for myself, it was the explanation of the hourly pricing. Had to do a lot of training with my stylist so they knew that what hourly pricing really meant and how to translate that to a client. Because clients would come in and they would have a stopwatch and they'd be like, okay, my appointment, I booked out 2 hours from 1 to 3, but I finished at 2:45. So therefore my price should be less because you're charging me hourly, not by the service. So I had to do a lot of work with my staff, a lot of training to say, like, we have to choose the right words. The right words are on our website, on our booking page and all the things. I needed to make sure that they understood that they couldn't just reduce the price of a ticket because they finished 15 minutes early on a client.
Yeah, and I think having the understanding, and I just posted about this today, is like fill up the time. Like really kind of pay attention. And I think this is one of the pain points about hourly pricing is stylists really don't know how long something takes them. So they try to rush through the service and because they don't want to go over on time. And what ends up happening is they end up running under instead of making the most of the appointment and adding value. I think that with the fear behind not finishing in time or charging too much or having to go over, I think is much greater. So it causes kind of issues. I think also another pain point for me, and one of the things that I feel like hourly pricing kind of creates an issue with holding stylists back. And by that, I mean that there's a value and there is a formula to really figure out pricing for your team members, right? There has to be the client experience, technical skill, and the value of the service, right? All of those things matter when it comes to choosing your pricing. And I feel like we have some people that come into the salon that really excel in something like, say, like you have a stylist who is newer and they're really great at highlights, right? They're amazing, but their haircutting skill is not up to par. So the value to charge your hourly rate for haircuts sometimes isn't meeting that criteria. And I feel like the only way that you get better at something is by doing it. And it really detours clients from, I think, booking because the hourly price of the haircut is not valued at what it's worth compared to the lightning services. And I also think too that with the hourly pricing, I feel like a lot of people want to get everything done. So, they want their haircut and they want their highlight together. So I feel like you really have to make sure that your team is trained and that they are, technically able to do the things that they're actually getting booked for.
I agree.
You want to make sure that the stylist is charging appropriately. I just think that that's huge. I really think that if they aren't great at haircuts, but they're really good at lightning and they want to do both, and I feel like they can't charge the rate that they want to for their color services because of the haircut aspect. So I know that everyone's like, you're charging for your time. People are paying for your time. Yes, I get that. But people are also paying for a service and people are also paying for a result. And if you are unable to create that result in a certain area, then it's hard to charge for that area that you can't create the result in.
So what would be a solution for you? So I have a stylist. She excels in extensions. She gets those rows on, those left sewed, 30 to 45 minutes. She's quick. So for her, to lower her time would lower her price. And she is very good at what she does. So I don't want to lower her timing because that lowers her pricing. What would you recommend to people?
I think the hybrid pricing menu is the way to go.
I
I
agree.
really do. I know it complicates things. It's not simple. Like hourly pricing simplifies things, but I feel like it also holds people back. Like, for example, like there are certain services that do hold value. There are certain services that you can charge more for, like extensions. And this is another place where I feel there's like holes in this pricing structure because a lot of people may not come to you if your prices are too inexpensive. So if you have an hourly rate of $100 an hour and it takes you an hour to do extensions and that's your hourly rate, well, people are going to be like, well, why is she only charging $100 when the service is normally 300?
I agree with you with that as well. So there's that perceived value of the artist
Perceived
performing the
value of the artist.
services.
And I also think it holds stylists back in that way, because if you have somebody who wants to charge $300 for extensions, for a row of extensions, but your, policy is at your 1 hourly rate at your salon, well, then you're keeping your team from making more money and you're keeping your salon from making more money. That part does not make sense to me. I think if you have somebody who wants to charge more for a specific elevated service, or if you have somebody who, specializes in something and wants to charge a higher rate for that specialty, like extensions, and it's easy to break down the switch in hourly rate when the client is coming in for their service, then why not do that?
I agree with you. And for my hourly rate, I specialize in fusion extensions. I've been certified in fusion extensions since 2005. My hourly rate for fusion extensions is $400 an hour. My hourly rate for blonding services, which I do not excel at, is $150 an hour. So there's a big difference in my technical gap. And I do charge more for the services that I mastered and that I'm an expert in, and that would be fusion extensions.
And that is a hybrid menu. So you do a hybrid menu. And I feel like that is the way to go. Honestly, I feel like hybrid is the way to go. I feel like it helps stylists build. I feel like it also helps you really like hone in and you have the ability to charge for your specialty. I get that like you should set your hourly rate to whatever your specialty is. But let's be real, that really holds you back financially, especially when you want to do all the things. I think one of the things that really kind of kicked me in the gut when I switched to hourly pricing is I based my hourly pricing off of what I wanted to charge per hour. And I didn't really look at the services that I wanted to keep. And when I switched to hourly pricing, I ended up charging $150 an hour. I love doing lightning services and extensions, and I lost all of my lightning clients. I think I have two because it was out of their budget. So, someone's not going to pay $600 for a highlight in my area. They're just not, when they can have somebody who is equally as, talented, equally as amazing, and they can get it for less.
Agreed.
Are you not, am I making this too negative about hourly pricing? I'm just being real. I'm just being real.
No, I don't have to add anything because you're hitting all the points. I have nothing to add because you're right. I think that I know that you love the math, right? So
I do.
let's do some math. You got your calculator. Maybe we can break down how much per hour. If a stylist worked 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in a year, and their commission rate was 50%, let's break down how much they would have to charge per hour for every single service to make six figures. Because we all know that the salon industry is on average a low wage career, unfortunately. And we're trying to elevate this industry by your podcast and bringing light to, hourly pricing. So how much does a stylist have to charge in order to make six figures? Let's
$100
do
an
that.
hour.
$100 an hour
Mhm.
for 40 hours a week.
That's
No
40 hours a
breaks.
week. And that's
40 hours of
that's
no
yeah,
breaks.
no
Do
breaks.
not pee. Do not eat. Do not pee still. And guess what? It's going to take you 52 weeks. That's an entire year with no vacation. Do not get sick. Your partner can't get sick. Your children cannot get sick. You have to be there. And that's a lot of money to
Mhm.
charge for, a touch up, a root retouch, and a haircut. $200. That's how long my stylists book out for. $200. Some markets will support that. Some don't. My area, my market will not support that.
Yeah, I think that's too demographics, value of service. These are all things that matter. And as I was saying, like when I switched my hourly price to $150, my average lightning service with a haircut was 4 hours at $600. I did lose a lot of my lightning clients. And for me, as a salon owner, that was my goal. My goal was to lessen my time behind the chair so I could focus on running my business, spend more time with my family, and fill my stylist books. So it ended up being okay for me. But for people who rely on their income and rely on that revenue to either run their business or to actually support their family, to make a big jump like that without strategy is really detrimental. And again, you have to look at the value of what you're charging for. And yes, we want to say the stylist is the prize. Absolutely 100%. A lot of us are not replaceable. We have some clients, like my touch up clients, are like my ride or dies. Like they're with me to the end. And I'm still doing clients that I've done for like 20 years. But we have to be realistic and we have to understand that, there's so much that goes into doing hair and our technique and what people can afford. And we also have to think not everyone is going to be Picasso. I just did a post about this too. We can all like be hairstylists, right? But not all of us can be those, like social media famous people that can literally charge whatever they want. And even those people who are social media famous, like I've looked at their pricing and their pricing is less than mine.
That's
So
crazy.
I think that's something that you really have to look at. You have to look at the value of the service. You have to look at all the things. And you're right. Okay, so somebody has to charge $100 an hour in order to bring home six figures as an hourly pricing stylist. 40
In a
hours a week
commission salon.
in a commission salon, 52 weeks out of the year. So Sheli, what is your solution to that when it comes to creating a six-figure stylist with the hourly
Well,
pricing?
so with that, I have introduced the hybrid pricing. So I have the services broken down into categories and I've switched the verbiage from hourly to session. So I've allowed my stylists that excel in certain areas. So like lightning specialists, dimensional specialists, my curly cutting specialist. I allow them to take this session and raise the session versus raising their hourly price, which I've also done. And I specialize in fusion extensions. I've raised my hourly price in that category, like I said earlier, to $400 an hour. With that, I've also reintroduced add-on services. So add-on services are services with my booking system that will complement the service that the client is already getting. And it's really it's up to the client if they want to pay the 25 to 60 extra dollars for that add-on service for the appointment that they're booking.
So since hourly pricing is everything is included, can you just touch base on how the add-ons work?
So the add-ons are services that you would book separately. So for me, it's an intensive scalp treatment that you would book an extra time for because the stylist would need more time to perform that service. But as an add-on, the client's hair is already getting shampooed. They're already wet. They're already at the shampoo bowl. And it doesn't take much more time for the stylist to complete that service. Okay.
Now, you kind of touch base on your menu, which is something that I really want to also talk about when it comes to hourly pricing. And I think that a lot of people don't test their menu. And you and I have tested our menu A lot.
So many times.
And the
Oh my
reason
God.
why is when we switched to hourly pricing, people in our demographic didn't understand it. And our online booking and new client requests decreased because people are not going to choose you if they don't understand how your pricing structure works or if they don't understand hourly pricing.
I think you brought up a really good point, and that is a part of the strategy. I read a really great Instagram post that stated clients do not search 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour services. So your menu has to be in a way that clients speak, not the hairstylist speaks. So they have to be able to see it doesn't have to be an online menu, whatever's on your website as well. I just do online booking and we get a lot of clients that book online. It has to be something that they understand and that they can connect and make sure that they're booking the appropriate service. I no longer have my clients fill out a form before they come into the salon because I also don't want my clients jumping through hoops to be able to get in my chair. Clients just want to get their hair done. And if you make it too hard or too confusing for them, they're going to move to a different salon where the process is more streamlined and they can do it with ease.
I think also there's so much power of information with service menu names. It gives you so much information on your business. It really does help you collect data. It helps you prepare. It helps your stylist prepare. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour can actually be detrimental to your business as well, which I don't know if you want to share on that, but you don't have to give detail, but you can kind of share how it kind of fucked you.
Well, the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour on my menu did kind of fuck me. I did get into a legal situation that I can't go into detail over, and I was not able to distinguish what services were being performed under the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour category. So with the advice of my lawyer, he recommended that I go back to a traditional menu. So therefore, we can see what services clients are booking, what they're paying for, and there's no confusion with the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour menu.
I think also as well, like that is something to really look at. Like, what are the legalities behind your menu? Like, talk to a lawyer about every single thing that may be questionable in your business. Like, you never thought that having a service menu would have impacted you in this way. And after you've gone through this experience, you've really learned that like details like this matter.
I agree. 100%. It matters a lot, even with chargebacks.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't think about chargebacks with our clients, and they do happen. If you've been in business long enough, you're going to see more than 1, 2, or 3. I've had a couple since I've been a salon owner. And one of the big ones was a client that came in with 2 of my stylists that are no longer with me, but they both worked on this client's head. They did a huge extension transformation with Fusion extensions, and they did a color makeover while the stylist charged them each their hourly pricing. So the client's ticket was in the thousands. She was unhappy with her extension service. So I was able to refund her just for her extension service. Then she tried to come back and say she didn't like her color. Well, I had all the emails and the text messages saying that she was only unhappy with her extensions. So I won that chargeback dispute with the credit card company because I had all the proof. Now, if it was 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, it might not have gone in my favor. This client might have been awarded the total value of her service.
Yeah, because you do have to have as much information as possible for chargebacks. Yes. And a lot of people don't understand the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, and the credit card companies really do want all of the information when it comes to chargebacks. And I think that that's another area that is kind of gray when you are setting your service menu.
I agree.
And I didn't want this to be like a bashing podcast about hourly pricing because I do like the simplicity of it. I do like the ability to really provide an amazing service, not having to do add-ons, like everything's included. I do love that, but I just don't think it's the perfect pricing structure. Like no pricing is perfect. Again, it's what works best for you. You and I know the pros and cons of hourly pricing. We know the pros and cons of an a la carte menu because we've done that as well. And I know the pros and cons of session pricing because I did that prior to doing hourly pricing, which is kind of similar, but kind of not. So I do like hourly pricing the best. It's what I have inside of my salon. It's what we choose to use. But I also like to shed light on it because I think there's so much hype around it and people don't really do the research and they're not really investigating all of the things that really are setbacks and really go into hourly pricing.
I do like hourly pricing for some services, and I also do session prices in my salon for some services. I think the most important thing that I learned from changing my menu from an a la carte menu to the hourly pricing is that the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour description of the services did not work for my demographic. It did not work for me from a legal standpoint. And I moved that hourly pricing more to a back end conversation with me and my stylist, and forward to the clients looks like a traditional menu.
Same. I really do. Our menu's more traditional looking as well. We do have hourly though on there, like lightning session, 2 hours, lightning session, 2.5 hours. And before we end today's podcast, can we please talk about half hours? Because half hours are okay. I think they're needed. Half hours are needed.
I think any time increment that you need for your staff to perform the service and be successful is okay. 15-minute increments are okay. Like 30, 45, and 1 hour. It's okay.
It's whatever works for your business and it's what's convenient for the client and for the salon owner. Thank you so much for being on today's episode. Sheli, do you want to go ahead and share how people can find you and connect with you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at Sheli Dodaro Hernandez or at cleanbeauty_pro.
Yay. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me. I love podcasting with you.
Thanks for tuning into the Elevate podcast. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. The Elevate podcast is hosted by me, Patricia Nowakowski, and produced by Opulent Beauty Pro. To receive my free business guides, visit opulentbeautypro.com/free or click the link in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at opulentbeautypro or at Patricia_Nowakowski_OBS. If you love this show, please consider subscribing. See you next week.